Hi everyone, my name is Katherine Koller, and I'm here to talk about conversation to dialogue. Dialogue is my absolute favorite thing to write. I write in many forms, including nonfiction. I'll show you some of my books. Nonfiction. I write plays. Here's a book of my plays. I've written a novel and a book of short stories. We're going to do three things today. We're going to have three exercises, and you can pause your computer while you're doing the exercise. It'll take you maybe 5 to 10 minutes. There'll be some information that I'm going to be giving out, which can all be found on my website, www.katherinekoller.ca, under the blogs section. It'll be the newest entry in my blog, and it'll be called Conversation to Dialogue. You'll see that I'm outside today. This is my favorite place to be. I call it my outside office because when I'm working inside and I get stuck, I come out here and I listen, I observe. And those are the two main things about being a writer anyway, but especially a writer of dialogue. So you may hear, from time to time, you may hear some birds, we might hear a lawnmower start up, but this is a part of your world that you need to get really comfortable with. Everything in the ear. You'll see I have AirPods on, and I wish these were actually magnets that could, bring in that dialogue that I might be overhearing across the fence and help me listen in even closer than I do now. So let's begin. As I said, we're going to have three exercises, and I'm going to have a little bit of a talk before each one. The first little talk is, what is dialogue? After that, we'll have a discussion about what dialogue can do. And then we'll talk about how to develop your ear, your magnets. So let's go on. So dialogue is not a conversation. That's our first rule. That's by Robert McKee. And the reason it is not a conversation is because if you sat down and recorded everything you heard in the next booth in a restaurant, for example, you couldn't use that in your writing. It's too vague, it's too repetitive. There are so many spaces of silence. It doesn't move. So dialogue is, someone said, like a painting, not a photo. So it's not the exact replica of what you've got in front of you. It is selected information, like a painting is. To say is to do. That means that dialogue is an action. In fact, dialogue is what other characters do to each other. Dialogue is what characters do to each other. A human being talks in order to get what they want. And we all know that every piece of fiction, creative writing that you're doing is about desire and fear. And so they want something, or they want to get away from something. Another person said that dialogue is like a competition. It's a bit like a ping pong game. One person wants something, one person wants something else. It's a back and forth exercise. And another person I know said that silence is a lie, in that even if there is silence between two characters, one of those people wants something very, very bad, and they want it so badly that they don't know how to verbalize it. So those silences are also one of the tools of dialogue that we're going to find out about. The first exercise then, and by the way, you can send in your pieces, either exercise 1, 2, or 3, preferably 3. I think exercise 1 is for your eyes only. So by the third exercise, you can send those in to Yabs, and then I will be following this video up with another one, and we'll look at some of those entries and discuss them and see what else could be done with them. I'm really looking forward to seeing your work. So here's the first exercise. I want you to remember a conversation that you had with one other person. So you have to be in it, and there's another person, and you both want very, very different things. There is a conflict. I want you to remember it verbatim. I want you to write it down exactly as you remember. This is tricky to do. Give yourself about 5 to 10 minutes. You don't need to put in dialogue tags, the names of the people who are saying these right now. Just one line after another. You see if you can get maybe a page double-spaced. And I'll be back to you in a moment. So I wonder how that felt for you. For me, sometimes when I do this exercise, it's like I'm raking up a ghost from the past, and sometimes it's kind of hard, you know, but if I've gotten to the bottom of the page and I've finished it off, I feel like I've gotten where I need to go. And this is one of the great things about writing that I've discovered, is that you can transform those experiences into fiction, into poetry, into whatever form you're writing. So here's a little bit more about what I think about dialogue. I think dialogue is what you remember. I think dialogue is distilled, compressed, squished down speech. It's very dense, yet it's very open and very light. What dialogue can do is, of course, it lets the characters speak without you in the way, without you, the author, in the way. It's kind of like, you know, looking at a corral full of horses, beautiful horses, and taking the fence down, getting close up to those horses. No author in the way telling me how this person said something or what else is going on. It brings the reader and the character closer together, and that's a great thing for a reader to feel. Dialogue gives you the authenticity of each character. It illuminates their desire or fear, advances the plot and action. These are all great things. It gives the world of the story, whether, you know, it's in a different time, in a different place, different kind of situation. It gives all that just by the way the people are talking. It shows the conflict. It speeds up the pace of your story. If you ever feel a lag, just try inserting some dialogue. Even 3 lines will speed up the pace. Dialogue contains the past, the present, and the future in it. Why is that? What the character says is formed by their past. Why they say it right now is because they want something in the present. And how they say it is going to inform the future, what the results are, whether they'll get what they want or not. So it's extremely powerful on the page. The other thing dialogue does on the page is it sort of reduces the density of type, right? So you've got a little bit more white space. It's a little easier on the eye. It gives the reader a little break from paragraph after paragraph of narration. Other things that dialogue can do is it can provide subtext. This is a new concept maybe for some of you, but you know how this works because when you speak to someone, you don't always say what you mean. Your words and your intention sometimes don't match up. And that's what subtext is. So it's what we say on the surface, that's our dialogue. And the subtext is what we mean. Sometimes it's the unsaid thing. And it's up to the reader to infer what that unsaid thing is. Sometimes it goes even deeper to the unsayable thing, which again can be inferred by that top line of dialogue. So it can take us down 2 levels like that. It's awesome. The other thing that dialogue can do is it can isolate the feeling. And that's so, so important when you're engaging with a reader, the feeling of that character in that moment. It can also give us exposition, but only when we need it. I always say use exposition as ammo only when you need it. Okay, we're going to work on the next exercise. I want you to take exercise number 1, which is for your eyes only. I want you to rewrite that page. This time, you're not in it. It's 2 other characters. They could be characters from your work in progress, or they could be new characters that you're inventing on the spot. So they could be in a different place. They could be in a different time. But the intention of what you wrote down in that first exercise, what they want, may not even be the same, but the feeling behind what they want and whatever the outcome is. That's what you want to take away. You want to try and lift that piece of autobiography and create fiction with it. That is, you know what? You can do anything you want with it. See what happens. I'm going to give you 5 to 10 minutes to do this one and have fun. I'll see you in a moment. And we're back. I wonder how that one felt for you. For me, when I do that exercise, I always feel so liberated. Sometimes the first exercise was a very sad, serious moment. And when I convert it to 2 other characters who are not me in a different time and place, and maybe in the work I'm writing right now, sometimes it becomes comic and there's a different outcome. And it feels so great to know that whatever you experience in life, you can put down on the page and you can transform it. And that, to me, is one of the joys of writing, and particularly one of the joys of writing dialogue. So now we're going to talk about how to develop that ear for dialogue. I mentioned, being an observer. There's a little bird tweeting away up here, and another one on the other side of the yard. I started in radio drama, and I had to train my ears to listen for how people spoke, to know when silence can be used, to know how music can affect a recording, and also sound effects. So that's where I started, and it's a place I go whenever I'm stuck with a piece. I'll just start writing it as a radio drama just to see. And sometimes I'll continue it, and that's what it'll end up being. But I encourage you to listen to radio drama, podcasts. I'm sure many of you watch movies. That's professional development, believe it or not. But also to unhook from the screen, be an observer in your own world, listen, eavesdrop, yeah. And then remember what you heard. You can carry a small notebook or use your phone to write a few notes down. I try to keep a book of these dialogue bits. The other thing that's great is listening to interviews on the radio or again in podcasts, because then you get to know someone's vocal rhythms. Another thing I do, and it's not recommended for everyone, but if I feel safe, I do talk to strangers because it's amazing what someone you don't know will reveal to you in the space of 5 minutes. Sometimes they'll tell their whole life story. Sometimes they'll give you an idea for your next piece. It's happened to me. I also really recommend that you listen to your own work. So that is what you're going to do next. You're going to read what you have out loud. And I want you to listen really, really carefully. I want you to take out anything that is repeated, that has already been said. If you find that your character is trying to get what they want the same way, then maybe try and alternate, find other ways for that character to get what they want, find other tactics. So for this exercise, you're simply cutting as much as you can out. You might be adding or changing some words to make them feel more authentic to that character. You're just simply revising, you're messing the hair up of the dialogue. You're making it as realistic as possible. I want you to feel every word, be a sponge, then compress that dialogue, go forth and write dialogue. I'm looking forward to seeing what you come up with. Thank you to Yabs TV for hosting me today, and also to the Rose Foundation. Bye-bye for now.